You cannot be serious. As following a brutal loss in Game 5 by the Toronto Maple Leafs, we have multiple Leafs updates to go over today. And we have some comments from the players, from the coaching staff that has fans fired up. We're going to break down exactly what that is and discuss what it means going forward, as well as some interesting things ahead of tomorrow's crucial Game 6 against the Senators. But before we get into it, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. So thank you guys for that as we are approaching 17,000 subscribers now. We just hit 16K. So thank you guys for that. Darius, Leafs are coming off of a horrible loss. There's no, if fans are butts about it, there's no way to get around it. It was a very bad loss. And we have some updates today and a bit of a surprising one as well as it pertains to practice or lack thereof. But I want to start with kind of the way the fans are feeling, at least some fans. And of course, this screenshot I believe was from, I don't know if it's actually from yesterday. I was hearing some rumblings that it was from a few years ago, but regardless of what it is, people are upset about, the Toronto Maple Leafs team right now. And I don't know, I'm sure there's some people out there who are already burning jerseys when you're up in up 3-2 heading into Game 6, which is, not to blame them because we've been privy to some very rough years as Leafs fans. But I want to dive into some of the quotes, kind of piggybacking off of how the sentiment is right now. So Craig Berube says, he's considering some lineup changes, but it doesn't seem like there will be anything major. I don't want to change too much. I think there's been a lot of good. And we're going to dive into some of the quotes from the players, the coaching staff, and some interesting things there. But regarding moves that are coming, I wouldn't be surprised if they run the same lineup once again. Maybe we see Nick Robertson in there. We'll know for sure in tomorrow afternoon's skate. But it seems they're considering lineup changes, but this is the exact same thing he said prior to yesterday's game at the practice, or I guess it was a day off. And ultimately, he didn't make any changes a few days ago for yesterday's game. So interesting here, but it doesn't seem like there are going to be massive changes like some people expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, to go back to the Jersey video, I think that's some good old-fashioned rage bait, as we like to call it. I think that is an old video,
Yeah.
but the sentiment has been shared online. We've seen a lot of this over the last, 24 hours at this point, of that. So, of course, that's always going to happen, especially with the way that the game went. We're going to touch on that later in the video as well and kind of how the game went, but they didn't play a good game. They did not deserve to win. And I think that a lot of what we saw last night is what we saw in previous years, which is not good. But in terms of the lineup and some lineup decisions, based on what Craig Berube is saying, either they're not going to change the lineup or it's going to be something, again, very minor, like a Nick Robertson in for Max Pacioretty thing. I don't think Pacioretty's done enough in the last two games to warrant him staying in there. Again, the game three, when he came in, it was a good game. He played well. He was very effective. Since then, I feel like the third line has been jumbled up a lot. They put everything into the blender because the third line's not working all of a sudden. I think they need to get back to what was working at the start of the series, which was Nick Robertson on the third line, and that third line was working. Bobby McMahon, as we were talking about on stream last night as well, has apparently forgotten how to play the sport. So I don't know what's going on with that. He needs to be more physical. He needs to be more engaged. He's just not getting it done right now. So he's got to be much better as well. Max Domi hasn't been great for large portions of this series. So go back to what was working at the start, put Nick Robertson in there. If he is going to be playing physical, effective like he was in game one, he will be a difference maker. So we'll see what happens with that tomorrow. Obviously, they'll have a morning skate. They didn't practice today, which I thought was interesting, but we're heading into obviously a very crucial game six. If the Leafs do not win this game, I would not expect them, honestly, Nick, to win this series at this point because we've seen this too many times, and I feel like the ghosts and the voices in the head are going to be too loud at that point. So they have to win this game. They have to come out with a big effort, and they didn't in game five. It was a lot of the same that we've seen before. So a lot is riding on this game six.
Yeah, it is as high stakes as you get, and even higher stakes in previous years just because of the pending free agents in Mitch Marner, John Tavares, RFAs in Matthew Nyes is going to get paid a hefty paycheck. And those are all conversations to be had if they get eliminated here. Mitch Marner came out on the Game 5 loss and said, it's not supposed to be easy. We knew it was going to be a challenge. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. They pushed back the last two games. Now we've got to go into their building and play our best game. I don't mind this quote. I know some people are a little bit upset just because he played bad. I think it was one of the better quotes, from the players just in general. It is true. It's never going to be easy. I don't think, yesterday they played terrible, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think that's the bigger problem here, the lack of effort. But at the same time, or at least lack of visible effort, I'm sure they're trying their best. Obviously, they are, at the end of the day, they don't get any benefit by playing bad. But it is not supposed to be easy. However, I still don't even think Ottawa has played great. And in the last two games at all, and the Leafs have played worse, clearly. And it's unfortunate. It is very unfortunate, and you can see this here as well. There's a few different things. Fans are kind of, and we covered in the video earlier, I want to get your thoughts on this quote right here from Mitch Marner. Let us know down below in the comments what your sentiment is about Mitch Marner, Darius. We know here that you're not the biggest fan of him as the player. Do you have any thoughts on this quote and what you expect from him in game 6?
I expect probably one of the best games we've ever seen. This is what I'm expecting as a fan. One of the best games and response that we've ever seen from this player. Because if they lose this game, again, like I said, I would not expect them to win game seven at this point. The momentum is completely shifted the other way. And if you don't win this series, you're not going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf if you're Mitch Marner. So I'm expecting the best game maybe that he's ever played in game six. Are we going to get that? I don't know, because I thought that he should have played a big role in winning game five and all of this. And we know everything. Mitch Marner only has like 5 points, I believe, in games 4 to 7 of a series in the 9 years that they've been playing together in this era. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. I know the whole thing about him playing defense, all of that, it's not good enough. He's paid to do both of those things at both ends of the ice. So I'm expecting a big game from him. Obviously, the fan reaction, we know everyone leaves early for the go train, all that stuff yesterday, and they were getting blown out. So we all know that. But this team needs to give this fan base something to cheer about, right? That's the biggest thing. A lot of people say that the building isn't loud enough. Like, there's nothing to cheer about, especially with an effort like that. If they played well and lost, that's one thing, right? But they didn't. There was a lot of the same things we saw from last year, where it was a lot of dumping it in. Nobody chases. Ottawa can break it out easily. It would look like a completely different team than the first 4 games of this series. So they still have a great opportunity in front of them, right? Like, we're all kind of getting down on them, which I think was expected because of what's happened in the past. So the fan base is allowed to do that. But I do like some of the quotes that were coming out today about how they still have a good opportunity in front of them, because it is true. They can still win that game six. They're in the same position that they were in 2023 with Tampa heading into game six. So they still have a really good opportunity here.
Yeah, Berube coming on, speaking on that outside noise. He said it gets to a point where there's a lot of past stuff I hear around here. That's fine. That's part of it all. But the only pressure they have is to their own teammates, in my opinion. So according to Craig Berube, they're not really feeling the pressure, at least from the ghosts of the past. I'm sure internally that is being felt. But again, a lot of these guys are new faces. Craig Berube, Brad Shlivin, like, they haven't experienced what we've all experienced, at least from a first-person perspective. They obviously did from the third person on the outside looking in. Yep. So I don't think it affects them as much. The coaching staff, I'm talking about. The players, it is up for debate. And Craig Berube did speak on one of the bright spots of this series, which has been that fourth line. He says, I think we can have that mentality more as a team. How can we get that to happen? We show video, we talk about it and discuss it. It's up to the players to do it. Lawton had arguably his best game as a Leaf in yesterday's game, and it didn't lead to a win, but he was everywhere generating play, and he almost had a goal, but he almost had a very high danger opportunity. Ultimately got leveled by Brady Tkachuk. Probably wasn't a penalty, it was a clean hit, but regardless, it was a good play by Lawton. That line showed more intensity than the first line, which is something that should never happen, or at least shouldn't happen in the sense of actually generating scoring opportunities. So it's interesting. It's all in the players at this point. It can't be any of the coaching staff. You can still put some blame on Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas. I do think a lot of the blame is to be put on them, but at the end of the day, it is the players. It's always been the players. And if they want to win, you can look at the 5-on-5 analytics, all these different things. It is, we can't talk about that anymore. And of course, we're talking about it after game 3, all these different things. None of this matters to me. What matters now is winning the game. It is on the players. And at the end of the day, like, that fourth line, that should be a bit of if the first line or second line played like that, then I'm sure they'd probably already be planning for the next series ahead.
Yeah, and I think that it's interesting that, we're getting some conflicting stuff with how the fan base feels, and obviously what the Leafs are seeing and what Craig Berube is saying. We have an interesting quote from Craig Berube this morning about how, it's not only on the core, it's on the whole team. But I would, argue at the same time that the fourth line has been the best line consistently, right? Over the last 5 games, they've been really good, generating chances and just doing their thing. Maybe not getting, if you look at the advanced analytics, maybe they're not leading in, expected goals or anything like that, but they're out there making things happen, and keeping the puck deep in the Ottawa zone. They're playing the majority of their shifts, I feel like, in the offensive zone, which is a really good thing. So they've been really good. I think everyone else has to match that, which is, like you said, kind of sad, right? Because it should be the guys who are wearing the letters on their chest and the guys who are making the most money who are setting the tone for the team, not your fourth line. Although I do think that the fourth line has kind of turned into an identity line, which Derek Lalonde was talking about last night too, which is good. That's a good thing. But again, your top guys need to lead by example. So for Craig Berube to come out and say it's not just the core, he's not wrong. But at the same time, the core has to set the tone, has to be skating well, has to be doing the things that make you uncomfortable, because you're not going to close out a series if you're not willing to get uncomfortable. So we'll see what they do with that. It is on the players at the end of the day. It is now.
Yeah, a couple other quotes before we wrap up. You mentioned some of them. It gets to the point where there's a lot of stuff, like we mentioned earlier. It's part of it all, but the only pressure is their own teammates. And it's interesting. It's on everybody on the team. I get it. It's all I hear around here is core, the core four, but it's on everybody in the team. We're a team. It's on the whole team. At the end of the day, it is, like everybody said, it is on on everybody. It's not just the core four, but they're going to be facing the most pressure because guess what? They haven't performed for 8 years. So that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Hopefully, the Leafs can take care of business tomorrow. We'll have multiple videos for y'all. See you soon.